Have you ever really thought about how your favorite products actually get to you? It's this huge, complicated journey that we call the supply chain. And today, we're going to dig into how a really powerful new tool, generative AI, is basically solving that giant puzzle in a completely new way.
So to really wrap our heads around what a supply chain is, let's start with something super simple, something you probably used this morning, a bottle of shampoo. Trust me, it didn't just magically appear on the shelf. It went on a pretty wild ride to get to your bathroom.
Okay, so first, you've got the raw materials, think coconut oil, water, all that good stuff, being gathered from all over. Then it all goes to a factory where it's mixed together and bottled up. After that, it sits in a warehouse, gets loaded onto trucks or ships, and finally makes its way to the store where you can buy it. That whole journey, all 5 steps, that's the supply chain. So, the whole point of managing a supply chain is to make that entire trip from the very beginning to the very end as smooth, as fast, and of course, as cheap as possible. But as you can probably guess, that is way easier said than done.
So what makes it so tough? Well, it all comes down to data. Managing a supply chain means you are wrestling with just mountains of data. And for decades, the main weapon in that fight has been the humble and, let's be honest, often frustrating spreadsheet. Just take a look at this. This is just a little snapshot of the kind of data a real fashion and beauty company has to track. You've got product types, prices, how much is in stock, who the suppliers are, defect rates. We're talking about thousands and thousands of data points that all have to be tracked and somehow made sense of.
And this right here, this is the problem. The old way to get answers from all that data was to write formulas that look like this. I mean, it's complicated, it's slow, and honestly, it's pretty intimidating if you're not a total spreadsheet wizard. But what if you didn't need to be a wizard? What if you could just ask? Well, this is exactly where a powerful new solution is changing everything: generative AI. The easiest way to think about generative AI is like having a super smart assistant that lives right inside your software. It can read all of that complicated data for you, and all you have to do is ask it questions, not in code, but in plain, simple English. And look, this isn't some science fiction future. These assistants are already here. Microsoft has its Copilot baked into things like Excel and PowerPoint. Google has Gemini built right into Sheets and Slides. Both of the big platforms are bringing this power to everybody.
All right, so let's actually put this AI assistant to the test. We're going to look at a few common supply chain problems and compare the old manual way of solving them with this new AI-powered approach. Let's see how it does. First up is a classic inventory nightmare: running out of stuff. You know, a stockout means you're losing sales and making customers unhappy. So the million-dollar question is, how do we spot the products that are at risk before it's too late? The manual way meant you had to write a formula like this one. It's basically checking if the stock level in column H is getting low while sales in column E are high. And yeah, it works, but you have to know exactly how to write it and then drag it down across your whole data set. Now, contrast that with a new way. You just type what you want, almost like you're talking to a person. There are no formulas, no weird syntax, just a simple question that gets you the exact same answer, but instantly. The difference is night and day. Okay, on to the next challenge: logistics. Moving products from point A to point B costs a lot of money, and you always want to find the most affordable way to do it. So, manually, you'd have to write a formula like this just to find the average cost for one shipping method, in this case, air. If you wanted to compare all of them, you'd have to write a totally separate formula for sea, another for rail, and so on. With AI, you just ask a single big picture question. It does all those calculations and all those comparisons for every single shipping method all at once. It's not just a little easier, it's fundamentally faster. And bam, here's the result. The AI can instantly create a chart like this one that makes the answer totally obvious. You can see right away that air is the priciest option by far, and sea is the cheapest. No guesswork needed. Let's do one last example: quality control. Because if a bad supplier starts sending you defective products, that costs you a ton of time and money. So how can you spot them hiding in all that data? Well, the old formula could flag a product if its defect rate went over a certain number, like, say, 3%. But that only tells you what the problem is. It doesn't tell you who caused it. The AI prompt, however, can connect the dots. You can ask it to not only find the products with high defect rates, but to also show you their supplier right next to them. This immediately links the problem directly to its source. So I think you're seeing the big picture here. We're moving away from a world of complex, manual data analysis and into a new one where you get instant insights you can actually act on. Your entire workflow just got a massive upgrade. You can ask a question, get an insight, then ask the AI to summarize that in a report, and then even tell it to turn that report into a presentation. The whole process happens in a fraction of the time it used to take. And it gets even more powerful. I mean, you can give the AI a prompt just like this, and it will generate an entire 10-slide deck for you, with titles, summaries, and even charts all based on your data. It's really incredible stuff. This massive shift from needing to know complex formulas to just needing to know how to ask a question, it leaves us with a really important question about the future of work itself. Think about it for a second. If the AI can find the answers for us, then being an expert is no longer about knowing how to write the perfect formula. Maybe now, expertise is all about knowing which questions are worth asking in the first place.